So Marvel have upped the ante with a large press announcement and basically going through their entire slate of Phase 3 movies. So what have they announced? Let me tell you, there's some pretty exciting stuff here if you haven't seen it already. But just in case you haven't, well, we'll go through what they've basically announced and we'll kind of discuss it and kind of get my reaction from it just after that. But to go through it basically, first of all, they're going to start off with Captain America 3. Which it's been announced for a little while now, but they did officially confirm the title that it will be Civil War, and that will actually have Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man in that, but also another character who we'll come on to in just a second, just in case you haven't heard of it. Next up, we've got the Doctor Strange movie, which has been officially announced, but they still haven't actually officially cast the actual title role, although it's strongly rumoured to be Benedict Cumberbatch at this point. But basically, from that point on, it goes into some kind of interesting little tidbits, basically. So the Marvel actually announced a variety of other projects, basically, some of which are completely new. The only other kind of sequels that we had, basically, before we go on to the new projects, was they announced the Thor Ragnarok. Now, Ragnarok in the comic is essentially almost like the Armageddon of the kind of the Thor universe, so to speak. So there's Thor Ragnarok. I'm hoping for Beta Ray Bill on that one, to be honest. Beta Ray Bill. And Guardians of the Galaxy 2, simply just called Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So they're the sequels. So what about new IPs, basically? So there's quite an exciting, there's quite a big slate here. So first of all is Black Panther. Black Panther, probably one of the more anticipated movies. So Black Panther's an interesting one because he's actually going to appear in Captain America 3 in costume. So he will actually appear in that movie as well before he gets his solo outing. Now, if you've watched this channel for a while, I actually did a video on the kind of the Black Panther, why Marvel were kind of a bit slow to kind of announce one, and they're going to go ahead with a Black Panther. And I did speculate that he'd probably turn up in the film first, and that's actually going to happen. So he'll be in Captain America 3, but very excited. And not only that, they actually announced that Chadwick Boseman is actually going to be playing Black Panther, and they actually had some very, very cool looking sort of concept art. And I have to say, the Black Panther costume looks pretty damn awesome. So Black Panther. Also Captain Marvel. So Captain Marvel will be the first female Marvel-led solo superhero film. Captain Marvel is Carol Danvers, who's basically a kind of a Air Force pilot who gets sort of imbued with Kree powers, basically, and becomes a pretty powerful superhero in her own right. And then we also have the Inhumans. But in addition to that, we're also going to get the Avengers 3. Sort of. So why do I say that? Well, basically, Avengers 3 is actually going to be two movies. They're actually going to be split Avengers 3 into two parts, and it's basically going to be entitled Infinity War. So what it sounds like, essentially, is that Phase 3 is going to be setting up with Captain America, or I suppose technically speaking, is Ant-Man is the first Phase 3 movie. They didn't really mention that in the press conference, so I'm wondering if that's actually now going to be kind of Phase 2, and pretty much Captain America will be Phase 3. We'll have to see. So basically, Captain America is going to be setting up this kind of Civil War storyline throughout the kind of the Phase 3 stories, and I'm guessing we may see some kind of interaction with, you know, through that like a through line, and then basically the Avengers kind of Infinity War will basically be them kind of reforming a sense to a certain degree to fight off Thanos, the big bad guy, and then the Inhumans will probably be a little bit like Guardians of the Galaxy in the fact it'll be more or less a kind of stuff, more or less standalone film. That's my predictions anyway. So what do I think about this slate? Very, very exciting indeed. Lots of new IPs. I wasn't expecting quite as many as I have to say. I mean, a lot of people have speculated about, you know, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, but you know, I didn't expect them to have so many new IPs in one kind of phase. Now, the other thing I'll point out as well is that DC recently kind of announced all of their kind of slate of you know, films coming up, and you know, there's going to be a lot of speculation, argument to be had. Was Marvel's announcement reactionary to what DC put out? And we're never going to know, let's be honest, because we don't know how long Marvel have been planning this. So Marvel have kind of put out loads of dates sort of way in advance, and we don't know if Marvel had decided 100% if these titles were going to be then. It could be that, you know, the fact that DC have announced all these films, and they had their Wonder Woman film announced, so they had announced the first female-led superhero in this new era. They had the Cyborg movie, or the first ethnic minority sort of led superhero movie in this sort of modern era, I suppose. Stuff like that. So a lot of it could be, you could argue on one hand that DC got there first and kind of put their kind of like cards on the table and said, this is what we're doing and this is basically Marvel's reaction. But on the flip side, we really don't know if that's the case. We don't know how long Marvel has been playing this. The fact that they've actually cast Chadwick Boseman basically makes me think, and they've got all this kind of this concept art, says to me that they probably had this in hand, had it in hand for a while, and kind of were more or less waiting for the kind of the right moment. So I actually think you probably found what you've got here is more or less a coincidence. That's what I personally think, or more or less. I mean, who knows if there's sort of corporate espionage going on with these kind of film studios, and they've got spies on saying, oh, this is what the plans are. We don't know for sure. We'll probably never know, who actually had this kind of slate of characters first. I mean, officially, DC has announced them first, but we don't know how Marvel how long they've had it planned for. So, very exciting. I'll tell you one thing, I mean, I have to be honest, I am more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan, but don't get me wrong, I'm going to see every single one of these DC movies that come out, because they all sound pretty good. I'm a superhero fan first and foremost. I prefer Marvel characters, if I'm completely honest, but I still enjoy DC characters. I'm still going to see every single DC movie out there on opening day. So, it's exciting times. There's a hell of a lot of films, though. Let's be honest. This is over the next few years. There's a hell of a lot of superhero films. Not to mention the fact that you've got Fox's kind of X-Men and Fantastic Four series. You've got Spider-Man. Well, depending on what they do with that, Spider-Man series as well, sort of dotted throughout there, and apparently Sony want to have their kind of expanded universe as well. Not to mention you've got kind of independent stuff coming up. From like Mark Millar comics, stuff like that, Nemesis, Superior, that kind of thing, and Christ. So we're going to be pretty much spoiled for choice in regards to superhero movies. And I think maybe my opinion is that there's probably going to be a little bit of maybe fatigue at some point, because there's going to be a point where you're going to have to think, do you know what, maybe, or some people anyway, aren't going to be able to see every single movie. So I think we may start to see a few superhero movies not do the kind of numbers that we've maybe been expecting or sort of seen at this point, because I just think there's going to be so many, we're just going to get a little bit fatigued with it. Now, I have to say, the one thing I was a little bit surprised about in this announcement was I was expecting a solo Hulk film, like a Planet Hulk, and he's not in any of these as far as I know. So I'm a little bit confused about what's going on with the Hulk. I mean, I was expecting, my personal thoughts are, at the end of Age of Ultron, we're going to shoot Hulk off into space. Now, you argue he could be in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, don't know. But I don't really know what's going on with the Hulk. I would have liked to have maybe seen plans for a kind of a Planet Hulk film. That could be why we won't see him in the sort of Civil War storyline. Who knows? Because obviously I think it sounds like Thor's going to go back to Asgard, basically, dealing with all his Ragnarok stuff, and that's why maybe he won't be in the Civil War bit. But anyway, that's just speculation. Very excited. Out of all these kind of like new IPs, which one am I most excited for? Probably Black Panther, because he's been such a kind of, I've always liked the character and the costume and everything, and he's been probably one of the sort of the last real big sort of heroes to sort of come out of the studios. But I have to say, I'm quite intrigued with the Inhumans as well, because I really enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy, and it'd be nice to sort of see something along those lines again, but with sort of many different characters, and that is again expanding that sort of cosmic universe. Anyway, lots of ramblings from me. What are you kind of most excited for out of these kind of announcements? Is there any particular movie you're more excited to see than the others? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.